पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी. Dear friends, it is my great joy to be amidst you, and that too to discuss, to appreciate, to understand a few teachings of Gita. I read somewhere that Bina Hari Kripa Satsang na hoi. Without the grace of Hari, Narayana, there is no way that one gets satsanga. To get the worldly things, it's okay. Your prarabdha can allow you. Your prarabdha may supply you with all those things. But when it comes to satsanga, Shastra Shravana, it is not out of Purushartha it happens. Because lot of times I hear people, when I conduct Jnana Yajna and all that, they come to me and say that Ishwar ka kripa itna hai hamare upar that we are able to get this teaching. They say we have done lot of punya, maybe in so many lives we have done punya, that punya is allowing us to come to satsanga. Then I say no, satsanga is never out of punya. Maybe you have heard some people saying satsanga is out of punya. I won't admit that, because punya is your effort and punya is the result of your endeavors. That means punya is karma phala, like papam. Satsanga and jnana yogyata etc. are not karma phala. They are just because of the grace of Ishvara. There is no karma phala involved. So whenever I find myself in such place wherein I am able to meet a few devotees, wherein I can think about Shastra, wherein I can dwell upon teachings that can bring about a great change in us, so I consider it is because of the grace of Ishvara. Durlabham trayame vaitad devanugraha hetukam manushyatvam mumukshutvam mahapurusha samshrayaha. Like this Bhagavan Adi Shankara himself accepts. In Viveka Chudamani, the very opening verses, he teaches like that. Durlabham dukkhena labhyam. Dukkhena labhyam, that which is hard indeed to obtain. These three things are like that. What are they? Manushyatvam, to be born as a human being. Because this is the only upadhi which is eligible for self-enquiry. Other upadhis are not designed in that way. Though the Atma is present in one and all, though the prana is pulsating in one and all, but the upadhi should have the capability. The manava upadhi, the body, mind, etc. are so sattvaguna pradhana. Because of that sattvic predominance, an enquiry is possible here. No animal thinks on these lines, who am I, what am I, from where did I come, who is my mother, who is my father. Like that, no animal bothers. Animal is also having knowledge but confined to Vishaya. Jnanamasti samastasya jantoho Vishaya gochare. Vishaya gocharatvam eva jnanam for all the animals. But man is such an animal. Man is also Pashu, he is called like that. Man is also an animal, but here because of the speciality of the Upadhi, he can contemplate on the subjective aspect, not only the objective. So animal kingdom is confined to the objective reality, the reality which is available in the form of sensory data, etc. But man is the only entity who can reflect on the seer himself, the experiencer, what is the nature of him. Like that, Manushyatvam is very hard to obtain, very, very rare to obtain. We say Manushyatvam is a possibility, one possibility in 84 lakhs. That means it's a rarest chance. One possibility in 84 lakhs of species. And what to speak of Janmas now? You may be born in same species for 100 Janmas. Who knows? So 84 lakhs of species are mentioned in the scriptures. They count like that. 84 lakhs means you can take it to be infinite also. Who has counted it? It says it's a very big number. So one possibility out of so many chances. One rare chance. Having got the human birth, much durlabham is mumukshutvam. Mumukshutvam is generally translated as desire for moksha. Desire for moksha is not the exact word that fits in there. We say commitment for moksha. Because desire for moksha is generally there in everyone. After marriage, the only desire develops is desire for moksha. Got it? So it is a general consequence of marriage. Recently, someone was asking, marriage is a word or letter? Somebody said it is a sentence. Okay. A boy was asking his father, Papa, marriage is a letter or word? It is not a letter, not a word. What it is? It's a sentence. Lifetime sentence, like that. Kids go to marriages and they see that so much of celebration and all that going on. This boy asked his father, Daddy, I want to get married. How much money is involved? You can tell me so that I will earn some money and I will also get married. The father, he is saying to the kid, I don't know how much money is involved to get married because I am still paying. Understand? Like that, after marriage, generally mokshecha comes. So we don't count mokshecha to be mumukshutva. Desire for moksha comes to even a lay fellow who does not know about anything about Shastra and God and all that. Even to him it comes. Because out of frustration, out of severe adversity that he faces in life, like that it comes. It doesn't matter. Mumukshutva is different from mokshecha. Mokshecha is desire for moksha. Mumukshutva is commitment for moksha. A lifestyle which is committed for that pursuit of Paramapurushartha, it is called moksha. So that is very rare. The third one is much more rare possibility. That is Mahapurusha Samshrayaha, getting the proximity, enjoying the proximity, being blessed by the proximity of a Mahapurusha. Mahapurusha means the one who knows the purpose of life and who has achieved it. So such grace of teacher, that means getting an Acharya is very difficult, like that Acharya Shankara says. So getting a right teacher who can teach Shastra for you, who can unfold the teaching of Shastra for you is rare indeed to obtain. There also he counts it is obtained only due to the grace of the Lord. Devanugraha hetukam. These three things have karanatvam, the reason to be Ishvara Anugraha. Ishvara Anugraha is the reason. So we should always celebrate such moments that we are being blessed by Ishvara. And in Bhagavata it comes very clearly. Therein Lord is saying that if at all I am blessing an individual, the sign of my blessing is he gets the company of the saints, he gets satsanga, and he gets an opportunity to understand Shastra, which is my form. Like that he says. Shastra is not a mandate of Ishvara. Shastra is the manifestation of Ishvara. Don't think that Ishvara is there sitting above the clouds and he gave some mandates to follow this, follow that, and if you don't follow that, hell is waiting for you. And if you follow this, I have created a heaven. When you come there, few people will be dancing for you. Now and then some kind of drink is given and intoxicate yourself, enjoy the dance like that. It is not our culture. We don't worry about Swarga, what to speak of Naraka. And it is the only religion which does not bother and rejects Swarga. And all other cultures in the world, all other philosophies, they are obsessed with that word called heaven. We say, what is heaven? It is like a tourist place. Earn some money, go to New Zealand and enjoy. Once the money is exhausted, come back to India. Even if you don't come back, people will throw you out. They deport you. Like that, Kshine Punye Martyalokam Vishanti. Having gone to Swarga, Tetam Bhuktva Swargalokam Vishalam. Vishala Swargaloka, it is not some small Swargaloka. When Bhagavan uses the word Vishalam, it means you can never enjoy it in totality. In toto you cannot enjoy it because it is so Vishalam, pleasures are so many that you cannot really enjoy the whole of it. Whatever punyam you have acquired, in keeping with that punyam, you go to the Swarga, they will put some visa or some stamp on it. Till that time it is allowed. Beyond that time, there the law will throw you into the Martyaloka. Krishna says, but Upanishad says, Hinath Hinataramba Vishanti. So Krishna is decent enough. He is saying at least you will fall in Manushya Loka. But Upanishad is saying you may fall into Krimikitakadayaha also. There is a possibility. Because now once the Papa takes over, because of the result of Papa, such Janma will be created. No, Swamiji, is there a way where I can stay in Swarga forever? There is no way. No, in America we do like that. Come here and get married to an American girl and so like that get some green card and manage and get some passport ultimately. There also I can do the same thing. Yes, you can do the same thing, but the girls and the dancers there, themselves, they are not on permanent residency. They are themselves are on visiting visa. What to speak of Indra? I go to Indra and some kind of Rishwat Gishwat Khilayenge. I can manage him, I think. No, even Indra is temporary there. That is why when you see Puranas, Indra is afraid of people who are doing tapasya. He is also chair fellow only, ultimately. That means Indra is also a jiva. Indra is not a Devadi Deva, he is also Jiva. Jivas are in many forms. Krimikitaka Rupa also Jivas, Manushya Rupa Jiva, and Deva Rupa Jivas, ultimately Jivas. So they are subjected to all going and coming. So when we say like that, we don't even count heaven. Then what is the important goal which is given by Veda, given by Gita to us? We say Jnanam. You be concerned with the Jnanam. And our culture is the culture which talks about it. So today we will see what is the quintessential teaching of Bhagavad Gita to all of us in realizing or in attaining to such wisdom which puts a full stop to all this transmigration, which takes away from us the jivatva and presents to us our reality. This is the actual content of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Though people say Bhagavad Gita speaks of karma, like we have Tilak who speaks about that. There are also people who say Bhagavad Gita only emphasizes on bhakti, not on any other thing. Like that we have certain commentaries and many more. It was Adi Shankara who clearly presents in his Bhashya that Bhagavad Gita presents Jnanam as the goal and karma, bhakti, etc. as the means. So Bhagavad Gita is a total teaching. So if we cannot study Veda, it's okay. Because it is impossible to study Veda nowadays, and deciphering the Vedic statements is very difficult. So we are given a scripture by Bhagavan himself, Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam. It is not given by somebody who intellectually thought about something and he contemplated on the reality of the life, etc. and wrote a few books. No. Narayana himself gave Bhagavad Gita. Narayana, here two meanings are there. One is Lord Krishna, and Vyasa is also none other than Narayana himself. Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave, like that we say. So Vyasa himself is a Narayana's incarnation. So Narayana, for the benefit of ours, gave Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And we have one beautiful shloka written by the great Madhusudana Saraswati in his Gudardha Deepika, which really speaks of the glory of Gita. And that is well known. People do chant that. And what is that? You know the shloka? Very small one. Dugdham Gita Amrutam Mahat. What is that shloka? Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopalananda. Be very attentive. Say it as Dogdha. Some people say Dogadha. Dogadha means two donkeys. So you should be careful enough to towards the intonation of it, the proper pronunciation. Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopalanandana Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gita Amrutam Mahat. Gita is milk, they say like that. Milk is there to nourish you. And from where Lord Krishna took this milk? Sarva Upanishadaha Gavaha. So the Upanishadic literature called Vedanta is the cow. From that cow, Bhagavan collects some milk for the sake of you and me. Sudhihi Bhokta. So keeping you and me in mind, he has collected some milk. And whenever you are to milk a cow, you need an excuse that you need to keep the calf around, then only it will give you the milk. So like that excuse is created in the form of Arjuna. Partho Vatsa Sudhihi Bhokta Dugdham Gita Amrutam. Here one small indication is there. Though Upanishadic cow is there and milk is available in the cow, still unless you have thirst, unless you do effort, milk won't flow out of the cow by itself, right? That means you should do the effort. And what is that effort? Effort is in the form of vicharana. Vicharana is trying to appreciate the teaching in the form of inquiry or in the form of satsanga, like that. So Sudhihi means people who attend satsang, people who are committed for such things, they are called Sudhihi. For such people, this Dugdham is given. So that is the greatness of Gita. And Gita is the Shastra which is complete in itself. It speaks about the problems of human life. It also speaks about the defects of the world outside. It also gives the solution. It also shows us the way. That is why Gita is called Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. It is Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. Bhagavad Gita is that teaching which is available in the form of the dialogue between the Krishna and Arjuna, which is actually Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. What is Brahma Vidya and what is Yoga Shastra? People think Brahma Vidya means studying Upanishad and Yoga Shastra means upside down, keeping your head down and feet up, etc. And that is twisting the body like that. That is not Yoga Shastra. Brahma Vidya is the vision of life, Yoga Shastra is way of life. So Gita is so total that it presents the vision, it presents the way. So the way and vision are very clearly presented to you and me in the form of Bhagavad Gita. And the very opening of Bhagavad Gita identifies the terrible problem that we suffer from. The very opening verse. And it says, the gist of the teaching in the opening verses is, all the problems, all the suffering of man is not because of some Shani Devata, or not because of God is not being kind to him, or not because of something else. And we have the habit, a natural instinct to hold somebody else responsible for our sorrow. And that holding goes on and on. I have some sorrow inside my bosom. Then first I try to hold somebody responsible, whoever is near. The husband claims the wife is the problem, and the wife claims the husband. And wife also has few more specimens to claim. My mother-in-law is the problem. Husband is okay. He is actually a nice man because he's a dumb fellow anyway. But that lady, she is the incarnation of Satan. Whenever she comes, there is a problem. So mother-in-law to be problem. And there are few intelligent people, they go beyond. Society is the problem. What to do? There are no proper rules and regulations. So due to that, we are facing problems. Political structure is not good. And there are a few people who count stars also. Position of the stars is not good. So because of that, I am suffering. My Rahu, Ketu and Shani Dasha is not good. And go and propitiate Shani Deva so that he will give you a good result like that. But in fact, Shani never gives you any problem out of his will. Shani is like a postman who just hands over to you what belongs to you. So whatever we have done in past lives, that is collected and through Shani it comes. So how can he be responsible for it? So ultimately, real problem, a real source of the problem we don't identify. And more my mind is roaming and counting all other things to be responsible. Less and less I get a chance to focus upon the real source. And Bhagavad Gita very clearly says, the problem that a man suffers from is only one thing. And he says that is mamatva, possessiveness. Very clear statement. There is no discussion, there is no argument about it. But it doesn't present in that way. Mamatva is your problem. There is no statement like that. We have to decipher, we have to get the teaching out. And how it is presented, it says, mamatva, the possessiveness, that people belong to me, my people are around, etc. Whatever, this all Krishna counts as mamatva. And he also says to us in an indirect tone that yourself, you belong to Ishvara. And how can you say that something else belongs to you? When you see the whole world, it does not belong to you. It belongs to Bhagavan, it is his property. But you claim somebody else's property and say this is mine. Our Upanishadic literature begins with Ishavasya. Very opening verse says, Ishavasyamidam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjitha magridah kasya svidhanam. What a beautiful teaching. All this is pervaded by Ishvara himself. That means it belongs to him. The creation belongs to him. He is the boss. That is why he is called Ishvara. Ishvara is the one who controls. The controller is called Ishvara. Ishvara Shabda means the one who controls things. So things belong to him. Then we claim his things. If we claim Ishvara to be ours, then there is no problem. Hindi mein kahavat hai, people want something that belongs to Bhagavan. Bhagavan kisi ko nahi chahiye. Bhagavan ka chahiye. Samajh mein aa raha hai? So people want something that belongs to him. If you desire Ishvara himself and claim I belong to him, he belongs to me, that's a good thing. But we are claiming his property. So when I realize that I belong to Bhagavan, there is no burden on me. If you say something belongs to me, I possess something, moment that attitude of possessiveness enters the head, whole samsara has come. Mamatva is the root of samsara. That is born of moha. And here in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, first chapter, it is presented in 3 ways. Why 3 ways? Because the whole Jagat, including my body, my mind, my intellect, etc., they are made of three gunas, Trigunatmika, Maya, and because of the Maya, Jagan Nirmana happens. Maya being the Upadana Karanam. So, whatever is in Upadana Karanam has to be in the Karyam, the product called Jagat. So, in Jagat also three gunas are always there. They are called Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. Tamoguna is state of inertia and is related to matter. Rajoguna is a state of activity and it is related to Ahankara, the Jiva. And Sattva Guna is a state of knowledge, cognition, and it belongs to field of wisdom. And we experience it day in and day out. How we experience it? When we are gossiping, we are in Sattva Guna because our ears are alert, mind is alert, and so much knowledge of the world goes in. And Rajoguna is there when we are indulging in sensuality. So much Rajoguna, we are never tired. Go to Las Vegas and see the people. Day in, day out, they are not tired. 24 hours at the slot machine, still they are not tired. And they have certain arrangements to make them feel good all the time. And when we experience Tamoguna, whenever we come to Satsanga, whenever we are listening to the discourses, Tamoguna comes in such a inundation of Tamoguna flows into us that it is hard to keep ourselves awake. Is it not right? We are used to sleeping in Satsanga and most people enjoy like that. महाराज आपका सत्संग में आने से बहुत मजा आता है. Because of course you will. So these three things are inevitable and never categorize them to be good and bad. Tamoguna is bad, Rajoguna is okay, Sattva-guna is good. Like that, these so-called spiritual people have spoiled the entire philosophy. Nothing is good, nothing is bad. Everything is appropriate in its own field. When you want to sleep, Tamoguna is appropriate. When you want to sleep and Rajoguna is there, you cannot sleep. When you want to engage yourself into some activity, do some karma yoga, do some sadhana, then little Rajoguna is required. Otherwise, you can never be in any activity. And when you come to Satsanga, this Sattva Guna is useful. So it is the appropriateness of it is something important, not good and bad. Don't say Tamoguna is wrong and what is this Maya? A Maya se kab bachenge? Maharaj ji, from this Maya, please help me come out. Don't say like that. Minus Maya, you don't have any spirituality. Minus Maya, there is no Shastra also. All this happens only because of Maya. And it is not the Maya which binds, it is your ignorance which is binding. Understand? Maya doesn't bother about you. It is the cause of the world, that's all. Aghatana, ghatana, patiyasi Maya. It can create so many things. Today you are able to enjoy because of that Maya. The satsang is also due to the Maya. So never say Maya is wrong like that. Everything is good in its own place. So now coming to the matter. Three things are there, Tamoguna, Rajoguna, Sattva-guna. Therefore, the mamatva, the possessiveness that is in us, is also categorizable into three. What is that? Tamoguna Rupa Mamatvam, then Rajoguna Rupa Mamatvam, then Sattva-guna Rupa Mamatvam. It can be Tamoguna Rupa, Rajoguna Rupa, Sattva-guna Rupa, still it is not good. That is how he is going to present. And how can we understand the Tamoguna Rupa Mamatvam, the possessiveness dominated by Tamoguna? The best example is our dear friend Dhritarashtra. The Bhagavad Gita begins with the words of Dhritarashtra, not the words of Krishna. The teaching begins from 2nd chapter 11th verse, they are the words of Krishna. But the very text begins, 1st chapter 1st verse, and who is that? Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Dhritarashtra Uvacha, the king Dhritarashtra spoke like this. He is inquiring with, there is another person called Sanjaya. He is inquiring about the battle. And what was the inquiry? He is not inquiring about the dharma and adharma. He is not inquiring about what is happening there. He is inquiring about only one thing. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamakaha pandavaschaiva kimakurvata Sanjaya. Hey Sanjaya, in the dharma kshetra called Kurukshetra, which is the kshetra, field of dharma, there yuyutsavaha, desirous of battle, my people, mamakaha. See, my people, that means I possess them. Understand, this is called Tamoguna Rupa Mamatvam. And Pandavaha, Pandavas as though they don't belong to me. The sense of belongingness to his children and he is interested in their welfare. Dhritarashtra is the only fellow available in Mahabharata who is not only blind physically but intellectually stubborn fellow. Vidura was there constantly telling him, this is going to be a disaster, my dear king, for the betterment and for the welfare of the humanity. It is always good that you should interfere now. But this person kept quiet all the time. That means he is blind physically, also he rejected to see things in spite of the help of Mahatmas like Vidura. Vidura Niti, you can study the text, what a beautiful text. In Mahabharata, we have 5 texts which are like Pancha Mahapranas for Bharata. So Sriman Mahabharata has 5 very important texts. Whenever you get time, kindly go through them. One is Vidura Niti, second one is Yaksha Prashna, and third one happens to be Vishnu Sahasranama, fourth one is Sanatsu Jatiya, fifth one is Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Out of the 5, Acharya wrote Bhashyam on 3 of the things. Vishnu Sahasranama he wrote Bhashya, and for Sanatsu Jatiya he wrote Bhashya, and for Bhagavad Gita, world renowned Bhashya is there anyway, which brought him so much name, and Shankara is identified for his Bhashya. He is recognized for such a great, wonderful, terse commentary on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Like that, Vidura is a Mahanubhava. He is said to be the incarnation of Lord Yama himself, a Dharmatma. So he was constantly warning this person that it is good to throw this Duryodhana out of kingdom. You just throw him out. If you want to protect your 99 other children, this fellow is to be at once renounced. But this person says, somehow I am not interested in your words. I don't like your words. I have a great affinity I feel. Whenever I see Duryodhana, I feel that affinity, and out of that, I am not able to tell anything. Even Bhishma was guiding, and there were so many other Mahatmas who were constantly telling him. Because one Adharmatma is good enough to disturb the entire clan. The whole clan will be Kulakshaya Kritam. So one Adharmatma can do this wonder. But he never paid heed to those words. That means he rejected to see things. So Dhritarashtra means Dhritam Rashtram. Dhritam means holding fast. Rashtram means kingdom. That means chair. That means more or less all our politicians are Dhritarashtras. Not only the politicians, we are also Dhritarashtras, because we hold on to our kshetra. Our kingdom involves our home and our wife, children, a few relations, a close circle, inner circle, outer circle, like that, whatever the circles you count. That is also called kingdom, wherein you are the king. So we also hold it so much, saying that mine, mamakaha, they belong to me, they belong to me. That is called tamoguna mamatvam. That means for them, I can do anything. For them, I can cut corners. For their welfare, I will commit any kind of sin. And these days people say like that, kya karna Swamiji, bachon ke liye kuch karna padta hai. We have to do certain things in spite of knowing Vedanta, coming to Satsanga. Some things, we have to do. But need not do. You can really be dharmic and Lord will take care of the things. But people have those kind of notions. It's okay. So what I mean to say is, for mine sake, I am ready to leave a dharma. I am ready to forget everything. In one word, I can commit anything for them. That is what is tamoguna mamatvam. And finally, the result of which is a great sorrow for Dhritarashtra himself. Is it not right? He was thinking, for the welfare of children, I am going to do all this. And ultimately, what welfare has come? Everyone was incinerated, that's all. All the kulam has gone, 99 fellows are gone. There was not even a trace of that Vamsha. And finally, Pandavas took over. So, Tamogunatva Mamata is ultimately will lead you into samsara. You will cry at the end. And second is Rajoguna Mamatvam. Who is the example for it? Our another dear friend called Duryodhana. Tamoguna Mamatvam is centered on mine. Rajoguna Mamatvam is centered on I. That means for the sake of I can use anyone. And like that, Duryodhana says in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, first chapter, he says, Madarde Tyakta Jivitaha Sarve. Oh Bhishma, kindly see all these people who are assembled and arrayed in the lines of the army. These people, do you think they have just come like that? No. Madarde, for my sake, Tyakta Jivitaha. They are ready to sacrifice their lives. That means for my sake, even people die, it's okay. For my sake, I can exploit anyone. For what? Madarte. So that is called Rajoguna Mamatva. And the third one is Sattva Guna Mamatva. The greatest example is Arjuna. So only the guna is changing, mamatvam is in and through. The quality of that is changing, but mamatvam, the disease is present. Sattva Guna Mamatvam is not in any way better. This Sattva Guna Mamatva fellow is like always be good, do good kind of people. That is also mamatvam. I do good, I be good, and whoever comes in contact with us, eat away their brain saying that always do good, always be good, like that. Sometimes it is difficult to interact with the satsanga people. Whenever they get a chance, they jump upon us. And only one question is enough to trigger them. How are you, sir? That's all. How are you? Just ask them, how are you? Oh, I am Satchidananda Brahman. Who is asking you all that? Are you Brahman, like that? Who asks? Normal transactional question, how are you? Say, I am good. And this fellow has entire scripture in his head to teach now. These are called Sattva Guna Mamatva fellows. Fellows afflicted by Sattva Guna Mamatva. I want to be good, to present myself good. I speak so many things. And Arjuna is one of them. That is why Lord criticized him. When you read Bhagavad Gita, first chapter, I tell you, sir, if you are sincere enough, you will like Arjuna so much. Because the way he talks, the way he presents his feelings is something very unique. That means he appears to you as the best human being ever happened on earth. And it is the Krishna unnecessarily disturbing him. You should fight, you should fight, you should fight. And this person is saying, why should we fight? By fighting, what is going to be accomplished? People will be disturbed, their lives are ruined. And the people who die in the battlefield, what about their wives and children? What will happen to them? Ultimately, what is that we are going to get? Some food which is soaked in the blood of these people. Like that, he has so much to say. And finally says, I would retire into a forest. And Bhaikshyam. Bhaikshyam means a collected food. You go to a Bhikshatana. You collect from 5-6 houses, that is called Bhaikshyam. I will eat Bhaikshyam and live a life of a contented life of a sadhu and Mahatma. I will go into forest and meditate and do some tapasya. Like that, what not he speaks. And there he presents his mind. In presenting so, you can identify what is his actual problem. He says there, Swajanam Katham Hatva. You are saying kill these fellows. It's okay. But Swajanam, how can I kill my people? If they are somebody else, one arrow is good enough to behead all these fellows. But these are my people. Understand? And our Krishna is very good, really. He is really a man of mischief. When Arjuna is asking him, O Krishna, take my chariot in between the two armies so that I can see who is there to fight with me, who have come to fight. Yuddha Priyaha. So one who are interested in fighting, I just want to see. Krishna could have taken the chariot of Arjuna in front of Duryodhana and Dushasana and Karna. Then there is no problem. This fellow is already holding the bow and arrow, and the moment he sees Duryodhana and Karna, that's all Shara Parampara will come out. But our mischievous Krishna takes the chariot, halts it in front of Bhishma Drona Pramukhataha. He takes the chariot and keeps in front of Bhishma and Drona. And he has so much of reverence and belongingness to them. I belong to Bhishma, my Tata, my Dadaji. And Dronacharya is such a guru, selfless guru. He never anticipated anything while he is teaching. So he taught so much to Arjuna. Arjuna was a very dear disciple of Dronacharya. And Bhagavan takes the chariot and keeps in front of them. Do you know why? Lord wanted this mamatvam to surface so that he can give some medicine. Because the problem is a problem, actual problem. If it is diagnosed properly, then we can convince the fellow to take the medicine. Otherwise, if it is not diagnosed and not properly concluded that this is the disease, then the fellow will reject the medicine, nor we can give any medicine. So Bhagavan knows that this fellow is suffering from sattvika mamatvam, so that should surface now. Then I can put some medicine called Bhagavad Gita into his head. So now he is asking, Katam hi hatva mahanubhavan swajanam hi katam hatva. How can I kill my own people and be happy? Sukhinasyama madavaha. Having killed these pujaniyas, most respectable people, how can we be happy? That means my people, I don't want to kill. I want to be remembered by the society as a Mahatma, a person who does not like any war. And I should be remembered by the people that seeing this warfare and all that, he retired into forest. Like that, he had something in his mind. But Krishna forced him to fight. You should fight, you should fight. Going into forest is not going to help you. Now one person asked me, Swamiji, how could Krishna conclude like that? Maybe he wanted to go into forest and do some meditation, go into retreat and sit down there, study scriptures in hermitages with the help of some Mahatmas. He would have planned like that. But my question is, they were in the forests for 14 years. What was he doing all the time? Is there one instance during Vanavasa Kala that Arjuna was doing meditation? Yes, one instance was there, wherein he propitiated Lord Shiva by a severe tapasya, very great austerity. And do you know for what? For Pashupatastra, to kill these fellows. Okay, so even when he meditates and takes to austerity and all that, still his mind was full of vengeance for these fellows and he wanted to kill them. That means his mind is not prepared. If mind is prepared, then we say Virakta Ragasya Griham Tapovanam. If you have prepared mind, your home becomes Tapovan. And if you have Raga inside, go to Tapovana, it becomes a home. If you have dispassion, your house is ashram. If you have passion, ashram is your house. Go there and create all kinds of headaches. Go there and complain. And the Swami who maintains the ashram is under stress because of you. He has to go to somebody who is teaching de-stress classes and all that. So what is that? You go to ashram and create a home there. So even if Krishna allowed Arjuna to go into forest, that was of no use for him. He knows it because Sattvika Mamatvam is a hindrance and a blockage. I would say it's a full stop actually to spiritual growth. So he is talking about spirituality, but there is no preparation for such spirituality. That is why even he is using so many words of non-violence, tapasya, religion, God. Do you know what was the Krishna's response? Anarya Jushtam Aswargyam Akirtikaram Arjuna Klaibyam Asma Gamah Partha Naitatvayupapadyate Kshudram Hridaya Daurbalyam Tektvottishta Parantapa. Arjuna is saying Ahimsa, etc. And do you know what Krishna is saying? Klaibyam Asma Gamah Partha. Oh Arjuna, is that a trace of Brihannala is still continuing in you or what? You are speaking all useless things. I want ahimsa, why should I kill these people and all that. You have come to the war for the sake of dharma, not for the sake of me and mine. A Raja fights the war, a Kshatriya fights the war for the sake of dharma. That is the meaning of word Kshatriya. Kshatat trayate iti Kshatriyaha. One who protects the society from adharma and restores the dharma is called Kshatriyaha. And when you came to the war, it is not to claim your kingdom. It is not a war which is a kind of family affair of getting some kingdom from brothers and distribution of it. It was a dharma yuddha, dharma kshetre. So you have come with the idea of dharma, for the protection of dharma. Now slowly it has gone and you are saying, my people, how can I kill them? So you have lost sight of dharma and some mamatvam took over. And he says, Klaibyam, this is complete impotency which has come into you. These words are not words of Mahatmas. These words may appear so, but the source of the word is not Gnana. It is complete Ajnana. So Klaibyam Asmagama Partha. Even if you leave this war and go out, it is Anarya Jushtam Aswargyam Akirtikaram. It will bring down your fame. Anarya Jushtam, it is not a trait of a noble person. Aswargyam, nor it is going to give happiness. Tomorrow you will repent that you lost this war. You had a chance to restore dharma and you have lost that great chance of doing some service to society. So don't see it as a war. See it as a restoration of dharma. So Bhagavan criticizes Arjuna in spite of his very pious appearing words, in spite of very kind words, all that. That means mamatva of any kind is bad. This is the Siddhanta. You may have tamoguna mamata saying, for my people I will do anything. Or you can have rajoguna mamatva saying that for my sake I can put anyone at stake. That is also problem. And third one, I am ready to die, but people should be happy. Like that, even if you speak, then also it is mamatvam, not in any way better than in a shade of difference, but the color is same. A shade is not a big difference. Color is almost the same. So such mamatvam is the root cause of human suffering.